Daniel's Dread Tales is a show for grown-ups. It may contain adult language and adult themes. Please check the episode description for content warnings. Welcome back to Daniel's Dread Tales. I'm your host, Daniel Fernandez. This week marks the start of our pilot season. We're going to be running a series of different games and then turning the one you like best into an ongoing campaign. And this week we start with some Trail of Cthulhu with the whole regular gang. So please enjoy this two-part introduction to Eternal Lies. Welcome back to Daniel's Dread Tales. Oh, I was in the introduction. You didn't need to hear that. Welcome to our first episode, our pilot for Eternal Lies. So, how this is going to work, let's meet our lovely cast. Each one of you is going to be being contacted by a mysterious benefactor. But first, let's see what's going on in each one of our lovely characters' lives before the adventure comes to them. Let's see. How about you, Reginald?
Oh, of course it's me first.
Yeah.
So, what you see is Reginald is actually at an airfield. We're not 100% sure where. It's somewhere in the States. And he's getting ready to take off for kind of just a joyride around in a small aircraft that he's borrowing from another ex-military veteran that he knows. What you see, though, is a slightly heavy-set man. If you had to guess, you would say about his mid-30s. Slight, very faint, light scars on his face. You can tell that he has been he's been in quite a few physical altercations in the past. And the main other notable feature is he has an eye patch over his left eye.
All right. And are you sitting in the plane right now, or are you getting ready to get into the plane?
He would be sitting in the plane, basically doing his pre-taxi checks and stuff like that.
And one of the guys who works at the airfield just runs out and is waving some papers at you. He's like, hey, wait up, wait.
Can't you see I'm busy here?
You're going to want to see this. And you're handed a letter. And then we'll go to the next person. You didn't say your name, though. We didn't say your name. We should have said your, real life name, shouldn't we?
Oh, yes. I'm Damien, a regular.
Yes.
He, they.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, your character is important, but we also got to remember you, Damien. You're a real person. Our next person, let's take a look at JB.
So the camera zooms in on someone sitting at their desk, and the person there is this just shabby fucking nerd. Just like if Stephen King was took style tips from Columbo, you know? This is just the nerdiest man you've ever seen, and he is currently typing away at a typewriter before tearing off the page, crumpling it into a ball, and throwing it into a waste bin, which is currently filled with about half a dozen others.
And you hear a knock at your door.
Probably should go answer that then.
There are two men standing there, and one of them just says, Mr. Faulk.
Speaking? How can I help you?
They gesture towards a gleaming white car on the street and say, my boss has a job for you. And now we will cut over. Before we go, who are you?
Hi, everyone. I'm Nathan, regular here on Daniel's Dread Tales. Pronouns he, him.
And let's see our last character looking over at Collin.
Collin Kane, private eye. He's on the bad side of middle age and looks a bit beaten down by the world and what he's seen in it. He just finished up a job for some high society types, so he's clean-shaven for the first time in weeks. He's sitting at his desk in the uniform, a long coat for the rain and a hat for the eyes, but he can't bring himself to wear a tie. Too much like a noose. And this is Russell, pronouns they, them.
Yes. And are you sitting in your office doing that private eye thing of looking all very serious?
Absolutely.
All right, your telephone rings.
Look around for someone else to answer it, but secretary left a couple weeks ago.
And you hear a voice on the line, and it's somebody with a job.
All right.
We fade away from that, and we now see the three of you. Maybe you're all arriving in different ways, but you're arriving at an airfield in upstate New York. You've all been told that a woman by the name of Janet Winston Rogers needs your help, and she's willing to pay good money for it. So, how do you think you are arriving at an airfield in upstate New York? And you've been directed to a specific hangar to go to.
What was that name again? Janet Winston something.
Janet Winston Rogers. Yeah, and
Rogers.
if you want to know anything about her, you could have done any sort of investigation stuff about her before you came over or anything like that.
I think I would have taken a taxi.
It's a little bit of a long drive from New York to here, but a taxi will take your money. And hopefully Winston Rogers will reimburse you.
Yep, that's the hope.
That's the hope. And as you are pulling up, the hangar itself, as you're going up to it, is sort of strangely posh. There is a beautiful airplane in there. You probably don't know much about airplanes, though, but it's silver. It's very lovely. But you see in the front of the hangar, there's a bunch of, like, short little bookshelves, some tables covered in maps, and it's like there's like a parlor room in the midst of an airplane hangar. And there is a woman sitting there. And you also see there is a gentleman who seems to be fiddling with the plane. So you're driving up in your taxi. What about you, Reginald? How are you arriving? Maybe you're flying in. I don't know.
Reginald is flying in the plane that he borrowed from his friend. So yeah, Reginald kind of flies in, taxis, pulls up to the hangar, and then like the first person that comes up to like do the whole like post-flight stuff, he's gonna get out, look at them, and say, this plane has to get back to Hoboken by tomorrow. So if you could get a pilot on that would be great. And then just without saying anything else, just walks to the hangar.
The guy looks flabbergasted at this sort of request, but you walk away too quickly for him to do anything about it. This random airport employee that you're never going to see again. Or
it's
maybe
fine.
Not. Yeah, it's fine. Whatever.
It's fine. The plane will get back to where it needs to go eventually.
Yeah. So you were pulling up in your taxi. I realized we cut away from that. What do you do as you're getting out of your taxi there, Collin?
You say I see someone?
Yeah, there is a woman sitting there. She is. Look, I got a question for you. What sort of cases are you getting? What sort of jobs do you usually have?
Oh, the usual cheating spouses and whatever the book described there for the base private.
Okay. So cheating spouses and investigating like sort of money and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to say it. She looks like the typical femme fatale. Maybe something out of more of a fantastical version of what a private eye would be dealing with than your normal boring cases. She's a striking blonde she's probably in her 30s. And she's dressed like a businesswoman would dress. She seems very serious, but you can't help but notice that she is just, there's something in her eyes that you recognize as trouble.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that a hyphenate Winston Rogers or?
It is a hyphenate Winston Rogers.
All right. Miss Winston Rogers, I presume? Collin Kane, private eye.
Oh, yes. I'm so glad that you're able to make it here. I hope it wasn't too much of a issue to drive out here. My father owned this hangar, and, the plane will come in handy for us.
I see. What sort of work are you expecting here?
I'm looking into something that happened to my father several years ago. I hope you don't mind, but I would rather wait for the other people that I've hired to arrive, so I only have to explain this once.
Others,
so
you say?
Yes. There's two others that I hired. I hope you don't mind. Please take a seat. And she waves over to the gentleman who's messing around with the airplane. Frank, darling, Frank, could you get Mr. Kane here a drink? And a large, lanky guy who seems like from a completely different world than Miss Winston Rogers says, yeah, sure, you got it, boss. And he says, what can I get you?
I'll get an iced tea.
An iced tea. All right, let me look. And he goes back, and there's you hear him ruffling around. There appears there's a refrigerator near the back of this hangar as well. Again, very well appointed. And Reginald, I assume you've made it to the hangar at this point?
Yeah, at this point, yeah, I figure Reginald would be walking in. Now, Russell, you said that Collin and Reginald had worked together in the past?
I had.
Perfect. Collin? Is that you?
Reginald.
Collin, didn't expect to see you here.
Nor I you, my friend. What brings you about these parts?
I hired him, of course. I didn't know that you two had already met each other. That should make this situation a lot easier for all of us.
Oh, I've been in quite a few situations that Reginald made easier for me.
Oh, well, hopefully this situation won't be too difficult. We're only waiting for one more person to arrive. And Nathan, how is JB getting here?
Well, he was promised a taxi in a nice white car.
Oh, yeah. So you were driven there by the
Yes.
white car. Yes, I forgot that, yes. Yeah, her two associates driven you there. They didn't have a lot to say. They told you mostly that Miss Winston Rogers needed you, and there would be quite a good payday if you came. And I suppose you needed a distraction from your writing.
Yeah, as a writer, the promise of a payday, a bit too good to pass up. JB comes out of the car, looking confused and out of place, but curious. He's rolling with this. Gonna see where all this goes.
Makes sense. So now the three of you are here. You do see two other gentlemen here. One, a dick who's had a hard life, and a veteran with an eye patch.
Hiya, JB Faulk. How you doing?
Reginald.
Nice to meet you.
Pleased to meet you.
I just eye you suspiciously and light up a cigarette.
Sounds about right.
And Frank comes out with the iced tea, and he says, all right, I got that iced tea for you. Oh, God, okay. We got more people here. No, I guess that was going to happen. Here you go.
My
And
thanks.
he offers you the iced tea. He says, I guess probably, do you guys want anything?
You got a bourbon?
Bourbon? Yeah, I think we could find something.
Perfect.
Coffee so sweet it doesn't count as coffee anymore for me.
Great. I'll see what I could do. I'll see if I get the sugar. And he's going back to the bar. You hear him muttering a little bit. He's not really a barman, but he's more of a, well, he seems more in tune working on the airplane than working on making drinks, but he'll get it done. And Miss Winston Rogers does a gesture towards, there are a couple of upholstered chairs. Unfortunately, there are only two upholstered chairs outside of the one that she is sitting in, and one stool.
Oh, that
Please.
works.
I think Reginald would stay standing.
Okay.
I would also stay standing and look off into the distance.
Of course.
I mean,
See,
all right. And he just takes a chair.
after a moment of seeing Collin, just kind of staring off into the distance, Reginald's going to be like, well, if you're not going to take it, well, I will. And then take the remaining cushy chair.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Kane. She's just making sure you're paying attention as you are gazing off and smoking.
Yes, go ahead, Miss Winston Rogers.
I must thank the three of you for coming here on such short notice, and I must ask for your discretion in the matters that we will be speaking of. As long as you're working for me, I will be covering your expenses, and once we are complete, I can offer you a good sum of money. We can discuss the particulars of that in a moment, but I need someone to figure out what happened to my father. And I know the three of you have, in your various ways, looked into things for people who need things uncovered. I know you, JB, you are an investigator of sorts in your writing. I know this is maybe, I don't know how many times you've been pulled in for something like this, but I've heard quite a bit of what you've done, and I thought this might be the thing for you. And of course, Reginald and Collin, I know both of you have found things that did not want to be uncovered before.
It's part of the job description, ma'am.
Yeah, I don't know, JB, because you're a writer. How much, mystery-solving stuff have you done?
I'm not that much of a big deal. I think in terms of mysteries I've solved, 22? 24. I forgot about the grand theft. It happened twice. Same painting. Real mess.
Collin tips his hat.
Yes, so this will just be another mystery for you. So, my father recently passed away.
My condolences.
Yes, well, in some ways he had been dead for quite some time. He was a very driven man, my father. He made his own fortune in pharmaceuticals after the war, and he spent his time traveling the world. He got a love for folklore and hoodoo, like the occult and things like that. He said it was the most important thing to him. He said it to my mother, who did not care for that at all. My mother and I, we watched him get ever more distant. We were well taken care of. We had the money from the business, but he was always gone with his strange friends. The year 1924, he spent the entire year pretty much away from home doing whatever it is he did. He said that he was looking for bad people, that he needed to make things better.
Looking for bad people.
Yes, and I think he found them.
With all due respect, perhaps he should have contacted a professional.
He did contact several people. He was working with people that he wasn't in the pharmaceutical business with, but other people who seemed to have an interest in either the occult, like he said. One was fascinated by, he said he was an expert in drugs. There was a woman. My mother was very doubtful of the woman, but she was a little young thing. I don't think my father was interested in her. I know how that sounds, but it did drive my mother to drink. He never told us about any of them. And then something happened. In August of 24, he came back. We thought at first it was good that he had come back, but something must have happened. He stopped traveling. He stopped having his secret meetings. He saw a psychiatrist. He had never had any interest with that before. And he started to burn all of his books. It was shocking to see. Again, I thought I had got my father back, but instead I got a shell of a man. He was never the same. He wouldn't answer any questions about it. When my mother died in 32, he hardly grieved. It was like he didn't even see her as a real person. He only became more paranoid and frustrated, and when he passed away earlier this year, he was a shadow. She started to look away. She was trying to be very composed earlier, trying to be sort of matter of fact, but this is very clearly affecting her as she's thinking about her father.
I'm sorry you went through all of that. We'll do what we can to help.
Yes. You must excuse me. As we were going through his things, I found letters. Letters from a man by the name of Douglas Henslow, who I think was one of my father's old friends. He wrote several times to my father over the course of many years, asking my father about what happened. He remembered what had happened. To write back. My father never did. He never answered a single one of those letters, but he did keep them. Seemed like he studied them carefully, though. Like I said, he never wrote back. Now,
do you happen to still have these letters in your possession?
Yes, I do. And she gestures to a folder, and she opens them up, and there are a series of letters that are in there.
Is there any chance you have an address for this Mr. Henslow?
Well, we have the return address from the letters. All I have to go on are the postmarks, unfortunately. They're sent from 2 different addresses in Savannah, Georgia. I think this man might have known what happened to my father.
Yeah, my bet would be that they were in cahoots.
That seems to be the case. I want you to figure out what happened to my father in 1924. What shook him so deeply. And I want to know if I should be apologizing for him or defending him. I don't care what the truth is. I just want to know what it is. Spare me no details. If his work was unfinished, if he still has enemies, I worry that I myself might be in danger. So I will gladly lend you, I know Savannah is quite a ways away, I'll gladly lend you my plane and my pilot, Mr. Kearns, who has now returned with your drinks and has been standing there quietly. Sort of awkwardly looking, because, like, you see that he wants to go. The plane itself is at the moment like he was in the middle of some maintenance for it, and it seems like he wants to go back to it, but he's now kind of standing there trying to be, like, official.
Thanks. And Reginald's going to grab the bourbon from the tray.
Coffee, my old friend.
Do you need anything else, miss? No, Mr. Kearns, that will be enough. You go wherever you need to for the investigation, though I would, provided you do not leave the country, you can fly wherever you need to. Money is not the factor that time is. I need to know the answers. And perhaps it's nothing, but no, well, and she catches herself. No, it's something. Something to happen to my father, and I need to know what.
Well, I think we can assure you that we'll get to the bottom of that something.
She nods and says, well, thank you. Thank you. Here are the letters, and if you have any other questions for me, don't hesitate to ask.
Looking at the letters, does it look like there are any occult symbols or anything like that I might recognize on them?
They look mostly like just normal letters. And I can start telling you what the letters say if you start reading them. But you see no immediate occult things on them. The very first letter, though, you see that there are certain letters of words are circled in pencil, and there's like a sequence of numbers that are scratched on the side of the page. It's done in pencil, not in the initial writing of the letter, but somebody else was writing something on the side later of it.
Okay, can I get anything from that using cryptography?
Yeah, this is definitely whoever received the letter, probably Miss Winston Rogers' father, was trying to decode see if there was some sort of secret message in this. And you looking at it are like, no, there was no secret message.
Okay.
You could spend a point of cryptography if you want to go absolutely through every single bit of all the letters. But at least this first letter, there doesn't seem to be anything in particular about it.
Okay, I'll take that at face value for now. We can hold on to this file for now, yes?
Yes, take it with you.
Perfect. You two got any questions for the nice lady?
Oh, I'll go through the letters. Just check in contents.
While they're going through the letters, is there anything else you want to say to Miss Winston Rogers? It's okay if you don't, and then we can go back to the letters, but...
No, I got nothing.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
There are several letters. They are dated. The first one is in 1925, and there's one sent in 26, 27, 29, 30, 31, 33, and there are 3 letters sent in 33. As you're going through them, they are the pleas of an increasingly desperate and hopeless man. He's begging Walter Winston to write back with an account of what happened in August of 1924. He wants to say what happened. He wants to confirm what happened. I need you to appease my doctors who do not believe me. They're very repetitive. They only vaguely refer to what happened. They say the horrible things that happened, but besides that, not a ton. The first letter, please write back with your account of what happened. My doctors do not believe me. Then a year later, don't worry, I haven't told them where any of this was, and I won't. A year later, Tell me they didn't die for nothing. Tell me they didn't get away with it. A year later, perhaps if they'd followed me out of there, they'd still be alive. A year later, if you just send me word telling me your version of the events, perhaps the doctors would believe you. You're respectable. They would believe me too. And a year later, are you ignoring me? Or is this your way of trying to help me? Your silence echoes. Maybe you're trying to tell me something. Then the letters stop for a year, and the other ones are from a new address. Things are better here. I think maybe I'm free of that day at last. I'm sorry I haven't left you in peace, my old friend. I won't write again. And then he does write again. I made a book of everything I remember. I hid it away here. But I'll tell you where it is. Just ask. Then the letters are from the first address again. It's been so long, I know, but I don't think I'll ever be able to escape what happened. Another letter. It wasn't real. Perhaps it wasn't real. They tell me it wasn't real. I'm so sorry if I frightened you. And the final letter. Do you even remember what happened anymore? I wonder if you've even opened these letters.
All right.
So that's a lot. I know. It's a lot of GM giving you some narration. But there are 2 addresses. Most of them are from 513 West Henry Street, and a few of them are 23 Old Hope Road.
Do they give a town?
They're from Savannah. From Savannah,
Gotcha.
Georgia.
Gotcha.
What, if anything, would you like to do?
Well, if possible, we should probably go talk to this Douglas Henslow. Sounds like he's got more to say on this whole matter.
It's as good a start as any.
He is the only person I know of who seems to know what happened to my father. It would be a good place to start. Find him.
And you said your father had destroyed all of his books and notes otherwise?
I don't think he has anything left. He destroyed most everything right after he arrived home, after whatever it is that happened in 24.
Well, from the look of these letters, whatever it was wasn't pretty.
I hope that you can uncover the truth. She sort of composes herself a little bit. We can be in touch. Please let me know as your investigation continues. I suspect Savannah will not be the last step on your journey, though hopefully it will be.
Time will tell, Miss Winston Rogers. Time will tell.
And please write or telegram me or even call me if you are available and let me know what's going on, or let me know if you have any questions that I might be able to answer. I did live with my father through his final years. I did my best to take care of him. My husband was not fond of it, but with him gone now, well, this is all I have left.
Thank you for your help, Miss Winston. We'll do what we can.
Thank you. And, she, excuse me. And she steps away into the back.
Looks like this Henslow guy might have flipped his lid somewhere a couple years ago. Not sure exactly what we'll be finding when we get there.
There are things out there that most people aren't equipped to deal with.
And you are? This is me, Daniel, the narrator, asking, not any character in the scene.
Well, Reginald thinks he is. I mean,
We're all dead.
Frank Kearns is now looking at you, sort of alone here, and says, yeah, where do you want me to fly you to?
Well, it looks like Savannah, Georgia, Kearns. Get that bird fueled up, and we can be on our way.
You got it. By the way, you recognize this as and when I say you, I mean only the person who knows how planes work. Reginald, you recognize this plane as what sort of looks like a DC-2 made to compete with Boeing, made by Douglas Aircraft Company. Although it looks like a modified version of it. Seems like a little bit bigger. Its engines are larger than a normal DC-2. It's either some sort of prototype or heavily modified or something like that. But this is a good plane. It could take you all over the world.
This is quite the bird you have here.
Oh, yeah. Miss Winston Rogers is friends with Donald Douglas, the guy who owns Douglas Aircraft. She bought this plane from him. Said it was a DC-3, but I don't think it's a DC-3. They're not selling those yet. Those things don't exist. Guess it's a prototype. I don't know.
It's definitely quite nice. I'd definitely like to take this for a spin at some point.
Yeah. Well, it's also pretty cozy in there. We got a couple of beds, a nice little couch you guys can lay out on. This thing could even make a transatlantic flight. It's pretty impressive. But you guys are going to Savannah, Georgia?
Yeah.
All right. Well, grab your stuff, load it on in, and I'll get you there. And with that, I think we do the thing where we see the map and we see a little red line as your plane flies from upstate New York down to Savannah, Georgia.
Perfect.
Da 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 da
Exactly.
da.
You land at an airport. It's a little bit outside the city limits, and you are now free to explore the entire city of Savannah. There are no neon signs telling you where mysteries are. So, and also, you're here with whatever you brought with you.
All right. I would like to roll to explore the entire city of Savannah.
Okay. And what
As
skill
one
is that
does.
going to be?
All of them.
All right, yeah. You're probably going to need to figure out how you're going to get into the city proper. You're going to need a place to stay. You're going to need to figure out where these addresses even are. How do you approach doing that?
Well, I'm sure they got maps somewhere at the airport.
Well, see, Reginald was prepared for this. He brought a map.
Ah, you brought a map.
Will that cost me to spend a point of preparedness?
No. You could have a map. Unfortunately, like, to find these specific addresses, you get sort of a general idea where the stuff is.
Yeah,
You
that's
might
fair.
want to find a phone book or an address book that you could start looking this up. Maybe find a library you could look up some addresses in. But the map generally, from what you're looking at, the address most of the letters are from is from a 513 West Henry Street. And you're looking, Henry Street seems to be, it's near the edge of the city, but it's in the city proper. And the other one, Old Hope Road, does not appear to be in the city proper. You're not really able to find it anywhere, at least from looking at the map, unless you want to use some sort of spend or anything like that. And you might need to just talk to somebody or find a directory.
Yeah. Well, let's check out that West Henry Street.
513 West Henry.
How are you getting there? You have landed at an airport. Do you want to get a car? Do any of you have the money to get a car? Do you want to get it on Miss Winston Rogers' dime? Are you going to try to get a hotel to go to first? Are y'all going to go to the same hotel? Are you going to go to different hotels? I just want to establish some of this stuff before we get into the actual investigation proper.
That's fair. Yeah, we should probably look at getting a place to stay in the town. It's in Savannah itself, because we're probably going to be here for a little while.
Absolutely. I'll have my I guess I'll take care of it.
You lost another secretary?
That I did.
You gotta start treating them better.
I suppose I can see the logic in that.
Jeez, some people. Well, first let's get a vehicle or something. JB, you don't happen to have any contacts in this area that you know of being. So she said you were an investigator, a writer. What is it that you do exactly?
I am a writer. I just happen to solve mysteries on the side sometimes. It happens. I think I'm cursed.
Interesting. Well enough. Fair enough.
And while I might not have any contacts in the area, we do have Miss Winston's dime at the moment, so renting a car shouldn't be too difficult, right?
It should not be too difficult. Yeah.
Okay, let's do that then.
All right. So you rent a car, sort of a town car that could seat the three of you. Do you want to get a driver to be taking you everywhere, or do you want to just drive yourselves?
Oh, I can drive.
That's going to make it much cheaper.
Mhm.
And as you're going, Kearns is like, well, I guess I'm going to stay here at the plane. You guys, when you're ready, come on back. And I'll fly you somewhere else. Don't tell anybody, but like there's this place I can just sleep in the plane, so I'm just going to do that.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Kearns.
All right.
No problem.
We shouldn't be more than a couple days, I'd imagine.
All right, awesome. You wouldn't say awesome. That's not a word they say in the 30s when this is going on.
I mean,
The bee's knees.
Peachy Keen. No, I don't know. Whatever.
The cat's pajamas.
So you drive into the city of Savannah. Savannah at one point was a bustling town. These days it has, well, seen better days. As shipping has changed and industries have changed, Savannah is still a large city, but its prominence has been reduced to a fraction of its former self. As you drive in, the asphalt on the many of the streets is eroded away, revealing the old cobbles below. Weeds are like coming up through the cracks in the pavement, so even the earth is underneath it. This is the sort of road near the airport where things aren't as nice. As you're getting into the city proper, there are some neighborhoods that are better than others. The whole city is set up mostly around different squares, some larger, some smaller, but that's how the city is sort of laid out. As you're looking for a hotel, do you just drive until you see the first one? Do you stop somewhere, try to get directions to find one in particular? What's the idea on that?
I figured I'd be looking at the map while Rich was driving.
Oh, right, of course, looking at the map that we discussed. Yeah, there is just the Grand Savannah Hotel near the center of town, which seems like a relatively nice place.
that sounds promising.
So you guys could check in there. Do you all get your separate rooms? Do you share rooms? What do you think on that?
Oh, Reginald wants his own room. 100%.
If we've got the budget. If we've got the budget for separate rooms, why not?
Do
right?
you have the budget? They do. Do you tell them to charge it to Winston Rogers?
100%.
Bet your fucking ass I do.
Oh, yes.
I forgot to get a receipt for that taxi
There's
ride.
a little confusion at first. So like, we don't have a Winston Rogers name on file, but I suppose we could make an account. They're a little bit confused by that, but it's gonna be fine. We're not gonna worry about that too
Yeah, I'll
much.
give them her contact info.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not like
bill
we're
it to
ever
her.
going back to Savannah after this.
Yeah. just gonna have a ton of debts and just beat feet. All right. And as you find sort of like some directories and stuff, is there anything else you're looking for in particular as you're getting set up? I mean, I know you're trying to figure out where these addresses are, but anything else you're looking for? Anything else you're trying to find?
I would like to know where a library is.
All right. There's one just 2 blocks down from your hotel. Yeah.
That's handy.
Yeah. So if you can use that to do some investigation. In fact, you'll probably need to go there. It's the best place to find just like all of the addresses of some older places. Do you have library use skill?
I do. I mean,
We're
I'm an author, so
That makes sense.
all right. We're gonna say you looking at that while maybe the other two are getting settled into getting everything moved in. You figure out both those places. One of them, the one where most of the letters are coming from, is a sanitarium, the Joy Grove Sanitarium.
I thought so.
For a time, there were a couple letters that were coming from outside of town, and it seems to be just like a manor house, an estate, an old plantation on the edge of town. Besides that, Savannah is a pretty normal place. If you'd like, you can... Oh, I suppose I'd say, if you'd like to learn more about either of those places, you can spend a point of library use to learn a little bit more about them. You don't have to, though. You can just go.
I definitely think it would be worth it to learn a bit more about the old manor house. The sanitarium's a sanitarium. Famous last words, but I don't think we're going to run into too many problems figuring out what a sanitarium is and does.
Exactly.
That
All right.
said, I would like to know more about the manor.
All right. You could spend a point of library use.
That I have.
Okay. It's the Henslow estate, and it's belonged to the Henslow family since 1801. And it's on a stretch of ground that is a peninsula sometimes, and sometimes it's an island depending on the rainfall. It's in the swamp.
Oh, fun.
It's called. Oh, what was that?
I said, oh, fun.
Yeah. It's called Moss Island Peninsula. There were a collection of farms and plantations that were all owned by the Henslows, though at this point, it seems like there's only the one manor house left remaining. And it has a current occupant, a Virginia Henslow, who at 89 years old is probably Douglas's mother.
Good to know.
That's all I got.
Yeah, I thought so. How's everybody else doing?
Yeah, how's everybody else doing?
Pretty good. Unpacking.
Unpacking.
Not unpacking too much, though. Never know when I'll have to pack it all back up.
Should note, it is very hot here in Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know if it means you've changed your outfits at all. Generally, you see the people around here. People would be wearing suits, maybe, in New York. Now these people are not wearing the jackets. Not very many people are wearing the jackets, but they are wearing the ties and the fancy shirts here and there and some trousers. But that's the main difference that you're seeing. Won't really talk about what the women are wearing because I don't think any of you are planning on wearing dresses at the moment. And where would you like to go if there's nothing else you want to do? You know, you see there's a couple of cops hanging out outside harassing an African American guy. You know, you see a bunch of kids hanging out at the corner store. It's just a city, man. It's just a typical city in the South.
I'll remove my coat to reveal a button-up shirt that's stained in all the wrong places.
Great. How about you, Reggie? Can I call you Reggie? Reginald?
Yeah, I think Reginald would probably, essentially put away his suit jacket that he has. After he gets squared away in his room, shifts the eye patch to the right eye, and then goes and knocks on Collin's door.
Oh,
Hey,
it's a fake eye patch, huh? Well, I guess it's not a fake, but...
It's a real eye patch. He just doesn't necessarily need it. It makes him look cool.
Fair.
At least
fair.
That's what he thinks. But, yeah, he goes over to Collin's room and knocks on the door. Hey, Collin, you situated yet?
That I am. What troubles you, my friend?
Well, I think we need to figure out which of these two addresses we're going to first.
Well, I'd suggest we talk to the man himself first. There's mention of a book here, and it says to ask him where it is. Rather talk to him and see if we can get it out of him before we go rooting around his house.
All right. Well, let's not waste any time if we don't have to. Let's go to Joy Grove. Joy Grove Sanitarium is a hulking red brick Victorian building. It's got tall, narrow windows. It's got a Gothic sort of details. It's looming verticality. It would be how I would describe the architecture of this place. The kudzu vine is growing all over the building. It's covering up the windows. It's got the whole place sort of enraptured, like it's got a green hand trying to pull it down into the land. And it looks like it's about 4 floors tall. There's the main entrance that you can go into.
At this point, before leaving the hotel, Reginald would have put his coat back on, because he's got to keep up appearances. That, and also it kind of conceals the holster that he has. And at this point, he kind of just sticks his hand inside of his jacket just to kind of pat that for reassurance before going in, because this building looks creepy as shit.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
JB, was it? After you.
Oh boy. Just another day in the life. I enter.
As you come in, there is sort of a small entry room, and there is you presume it must be a nurse sitting behind the counter. Excuse me. There's a nurse sitting behind the counter. She looks up at you and says, yes, how can I help you?
How do you do? I'm JB Faulk. We're here on behalf of a Miss Winston Rogers. We'd like to talk to an old friend of her father, Douglas Henslow.
I guess you could sign in right here. I guess we don't have a problem with visitors. Let me see if there's anything in the files about them being visitors. The name again, who was that?
Douglas Henlow.
Douglas Henlow. And you see, peeking out of a door nearby is a doctor. He's in his mid-40s. He's slender. He's got a beard. He's very bookish, salt and pepper hair. And he steps forward and says, "I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. Did you just say the name Douglas Henslow?"
A couple times by my count.
Oh, fascinating. I'm sorry. I'm his physician, who's taking care of him here at Joy Grove. I wonder why you wish to speak with him. No one has spoken to him for, well, outside of his treatment. I didn't know that he had any friends.
I would like to assess honesty on this person.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so since this is my first time doing this, we can edit this part out. So I'm assuming I spend the point and then roll a d6?
If you have points in the skill, you're just good at it in general. And you could just sort of know stuff about that or do stuff related to that as much as you want. However, every once in a while, if it's something we want to dig in deeper or something you have to show particular expertise for, you might need to spend a point. Just like with the library, you're able to find out where the stuff was, but if you wanted to know deeper, like who currently lives there, what's the information about the house that used to be abandoned, that is a spend a point for. So I'm just going to give you the assess honesty right now. This guy feels more salesman than doctor, but he seems to be more interested in you. He seems very interested in this. He seems sincere, but it seems like there is another motive when he's talking to you about this sort of stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he's got ulterior motives.
Yeah, he has ulterior motives. They don't seem to be sinister. You're not getting the sense that this guy means you harm in any way, but he seems very excited about somebody wanting to talk to Hensley. And returning to what he's saying, he is, I could try to set up a chance for you to speak with him if that's what you were hoping for. Usually it's a longer process, but I could see if I could expedite that. Can I ask what you are even here to see him for?
We're working for the daughter of a friend of his. I believe the man has a right to know that an old friend of his has passed by this point. We're here to deliver that message and learn more about their relationship.
Oh, fascinating. Is this... Oh, this must be the man he was sending the letters to, right?
Yeah, we got a mitt full of those.
Oh, you have all of them. You know, he didn't wish to share those with us. We looked at some of them, but not all of them. I would love to see some of those at a later point if you would like. We've been doing the best we can to help him acclimate ever since the incident that he had with Mr. Henslow in 1924. And it's fascinating that we now have two people here that are involved in this sort of situation. Now we have, in some ways, a representative of the third, who were all there on that night that seemed to bother them all so intensely. Perhaps we can learn more together about the situation and help Mr. Henslow feel better.
I'm sorry, you said there were two people here involved in this?
Oh, yes, there is an Edgar Job. Edgar Job was another survivor of that incident in California. I believe he was one of the people that Mr. Henslow was in conflict with, as they say.
What can you tell us about what happened in California that year?
Well, it's hard to say. The police reports say that there was a barn that burned down and several dead bodies. That's mostly what the police were able to find. That's when Mr. Job was eventually sent here by the California Department of Corrections for us to oversee, due to my experience with the case. Yes, they both speak of violence. There was some sort of drug-fueled party that seemed to have gone awry. There was fire and there was death. And both of these men have formed a sort of shared hallucination of sorts, a shared psychosis of what happened that evening as they refused to deal with the violence that was inflicted. It's all very fascinating. I've been writing up my observations about it. Are any of you familiar with well, never mind.
No, keep talking.
Do you read much literature about the medical? Are you familiar with medicine?
One sec.
I know I'm not.
Do any of you have medicine?
I have medicine and pharmacy.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
So you're knowledgeable about this stuff.
Mm-hmm. I can speak to him on the level.
Yeah. Okay. So this guy, from combining with the assess honesty earlier in this guy thinks he can write a book about these guys and get some money off of it. That's what you're getting. He starts talking to you about several, like, he's calling them like medical texts. You know, they are like sensationalist literature about psychosis and like murderers and stuff. And he seems to be very interested in spreading information about that and like gathering information.
I would say this guy sucks, but that would kind of be a stones and glass houses situation, huh?
Yes. A little bit, yes. Yeah, the detective who writes about the crimes they see over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yes, we can try to arrange the interview with Mr. Henslow if that's what you wish. You'll just have to give us a little bit of time while we get him ready to go. Would you like a tour of the grounds while you wait or anything like that?
Oh, that sounds lovely. And is there any chance we might talk to this Edgar Job fella?
Oh, Mr. Job is a little bit more unstable, but well, if you allow me to sit in on the interview, I suppose that could be arranged as well.
What do you gents think?
It might be a good idea if he was involved in this as well.
Yeah. And I wouldn't object to having a qualified doctor on the premises, even if this guy's a quack.
And who knows, maybe it'll provide a little more closure for Miss Winston Rogers.
All the information we can get would be...
All
yeah.
right. Well, you must know that their files are confidential, but I will share what I am able to share with. And he begins to show you around the asylum. And it is... Look, it's not bad. It's not a bad place. It's just definitely a place that needs more money. Especially since the crash, there is just not as much money flowing into this place. You see that there are like water stains on a lot of the walls. Like I mentioned, the kudzu vines growing everywhere. But as you walk around, there are a lot of people that seem... Well, I mean, they're in an insane asylum, but they seem either sedate or sedated in one way or another. You do see one man who is continuing to pound his head against a wall. Softly, but not in a great way. It seems like the first floor, there are some offices and then some common areas. There are another common area on the second floor, and the third floor is mostly patient bedrooms and whatnot. There are a lot of people who are looking at you as you're going by. One patient makes eyes on you. Reginald looks you straight in the eye and does the thing where he slices his neck with his finger as he's looking at you and then points at you.
As they do that,
Yeah.
Reginald's gonna reach into their coat, the opposite side from where their holster is.
Okay.
Pull out a metal hip flask.
Yeah.
Unscrew the top. Take a drink while like keeping direct eye contact with the guy who just threatened them, like just this show of dominance.
Yeah.
And then afterwards look at the air quotes doctor and want some?
You'll have to excuse me, I'm on duty. Oh, I forgot. Before you went in, you were made to sign, and if you didn't sign these, maybe you weren't let in on the tour. There was a waiver that
Of fucking
the
course
doctor
there
wants
was.
you to sign before you came in here.
Of
That's
fucking
fair.
course there was.
Yeah. Yeah. It's mandatory in case the patients act out. It is a bedlam, after all. You know, that's how it works.
I have 2 points in law. Is this all above board?
It's standard legal stuff. You're signing away your right to sue in event of shock, offense, assault, or battery.
All right.
Great.
But this is pretty standard stuff. They're not doing anything shady here. Well, Unless you want to say any sort of waiver is being shady, but...
Let's be real. Any sort of waiver is being shady.
Yeah, generally.
So, there are elaborate skylights as you're walking through. This place was lovely at one point, but now those skylights are, like, caked with grime and soot. And there was the floor has, like, very fine tile work that has had water damage and patient abuse that has made it not so nice. There were elegant arched corridors that have had iron gates and grills added in years later that sort of violate how nice it all looked.
Mm-hmm.
They're clearly overwhelmed and under-maintained.
Looks like this funny farm of theirs is falling apart.
All right. And as you are walking towards the interview room, he says, the interview should be ready to go right by now. There is one man who just starts running down the hallway. And you see that he seems to have shaked out of the hands of the orderlies that were trying to contain him. And he's running at full speed towards the three of you. And Dr. Keaton says, Mr. Culver, please, stop this instant, Mr. Culver.
I could try and grab him.
Do you want to try to grab him?
Would that be a scuffle? Because I've got scuffle points.
That would be a scuffle. Yeah, that would be a scuffle.
All right. Now, how's this bit work?
Okay, so I'm going to give you a target number to go towards, and then you're going to roll a d6. And before you make that roll, you choose how many points you would like to spend to add to that roll to try to reach your target number.
Right.
So the target number for this would be 3. If you roll a 3, you will be able to grab him. However, if you would like to spend some points beforehand, you could make it more likely that you will succeed.
I will spend 1 point.
Okay. The points will refresh when you get a chance to rest, but... Okay. So, if you could roll a d6 and then add 1.
I rolled a 6.
Hey, there you go. You're able to grab him. He's sort of wiggling around. He seems pretty strong, and he looks at you in the eyes and he says, I know you know! I know you know! I know you know! And then he bites your arm.
Ow.
And he's gonna make a scuffling roll.
Fair enough.
And considering this is his only scene, he's gonna spend most of his points, which is good. So what's your hit threshold?
3.
Okay, well, he gets you.
Ugh.
He did roll a 1, but he spent 5 points.
Jesus Christ.
He is going to roll 1d6 minus 1 to see what damage he does to you. Okay, you have been bit for 3 damage.
All right.
And you are going to need to make a stability test, because somebody running up to you and biting you, seemingly trying to harm you, is not something that feels good.
All right. What's my number for that one?
So this stability test will be a difficulty 3. If you fail it, you will lose 2 stability points. You may spend stability points to try to succeed at this roll. But if you spend those stability points, you will have lost those stability points.
All right. I will again spend 1 point.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, you are able to keep it together, as it were. This doesn't bother you too much. I mean, you have taken damage. A guy has bit you, but you're able to hold on to him, get him down, and the other orderlies grab him and get there. And he's looking at you, and now he's not yelling anything. He's just opening his mouth and closing his mouth over and over again. He seems to be making just random noises, kind of just vowel sounds.
Looks like your runner's got a bit of a mouth on him here, Doc.
And he is dragged away. And the doctor says, my goodness, I am sorry about that, sir. Are you all right?
Yeah, nothing a little bit of bed rest won't cure.
Okay, that's good to know. Well, as long as you're feeling okay, he seems reassured that you're not gonna make a scene about this. We could.
I've had worse.
So, I have a question. You said at the end he was just basically making vowel sounds.
Yeah.
Now, this is a little bit of my knowledge of like the Cthulhu mythos bleeding in here, but considering my character has Cthulhu mythos. Were they actually just vowel sounds, or did they sound like something that would be more than that?
If it is a language, it is no language that you recognize. In fact, it feels like no earthly language whatsoever. But that's probably because he's just making a bunch of random noise. But because you chose for your character to have some Cthulhu mythos knowledge, there's always a little bit of you that's like, oh, that might be from some other realm. That could be something terrible. Or maybe he's just making a bunch of random noises. It's hard to tell.
So, yeah. Reginald's going to keep that in the back.
Yeah. And, let's not worry about that. I'll see to Mr. Culver later. He's usually so peaceful.
Oh, maybe I should do some first aid since I took that skill.
Do you have first aid?
I do.
Okay.
I put several points in it.
All right. If you would like to do your first aid, I believe it is, okay. So you would make a first aid roll, and health points are spending point. This will be a difficulty 3, but also spending points will also heal you. The amount of points that you spend, if you're doing first aid on yourself, it's 1-to-1. If you're doing first aid on somebody else, they regain 2 health points for every 1 point that you spend.
Okay. So, if I were to spend 3, I would automatically pass and be back at full health.
Yes, you would.
Okay, I will do that. Do I even need to roll then?
No, you don't need to roll. You're good to go.
All right. Good stuff.
It's very, it's very weird to look at, like, an actual human bite mark on your arm. It's not pleasant.
That's why I wrap it up, so I don't have to look at it.
Yeah. And as the doctor is letting you in, says, I will be just outside. I will let you, as you are a medical professional yourself, right? I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Is it Dr. You said Faulk?
Yeah, sure, let's go with that.
All right. Well, I will let you oversee this, Dr. Faulk. I'll just be next door. There's a small window, so I will be listening a bit, but I will let you speak to the patient on your own. Please, obviously, don't do anything that exacerbate his situation. He has made many steps towards recovery recently. And
You're asking the wrong crew.
Yeah. We're about to ungaslight this man so hard he's going to burn this place to the ground.
There is a room with a small table and a chair, and a couple chairs for you folks, and what must be Douglas Henslow sitting there. He's out of shape, getting older, and losing his hair.
It's like looking in a mirror.
Yeah. He's sitting there straight, but he is picking at his cuticles a little bit. And this guy definitely needs a haircut. His dark hair is starting to reach his shoulders. Hello? I'm supposed to speak with you?
Hello there. I'm JB Faulk. How do you do?
Oh, I'm surviving, as it were. Just trying to get healthy.
Well, I'm afraid I must start our meeting with some rather unfortunate news. I must ask you remain calm. Your friend Mr. Winston has passed. We're here on behalf of his daughter.
Oh. When did he pass? Is this why he never returned my letters? Had he been dead the whole time?
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your view, he passed earlier this year.
Well, I hope he's at peace now. Thank you for letting me know that.
Not so fast there, Mr. Henslow. We need to investigate some things on behalf of this daughter.
Oh, yes, his daughter. Oh, she must be all grown up.
She's a beautiful young woman.
Yes. What did she want to know? I'm afraid I haven't been out of Joy Grove much. I don't know too much of what's going on in the world.
Collin looks at the others, has some self-conscience, and is like, I bet what we're about to say is probably going to set him off, and the doctor said not to do that. That's the sort of look he gives you.
And the look that JB Faulk has is, but do we have a choice, though?
As you guys are communicating telepathically, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's just a whole bunch of eyebrow movements and facial tics.
Yeah, of course. No notes being passed?
No, that would be silly.
Right, of course. We wouldn't want to do anything silly.
Naturally.
Well, according to these letters, it looks like you fellas left some loose ends out there in California. Thought I'd like to see 'em tied up.
What happened to you in 1924?
Oh. Well, we were traveling the country. We were on the trail of a drug gang. It was also a cult. We were questioning people. We gathered evidence. We took pictures. We traveled all over. So we were detectives. We were armed with our secret knowledge in the occult. It was a exciting time. I'm remembering I had a southern accent. We followed these drugs all across the country until we got to Los Angeles. That's where the bulk of our investigations took place after we had traced it there, and that's where everything terrible happened. You see that he's biting his nails and sort of looking away now.
I understand that this is probably hard for you, Mr. Henslow, but we need to know what happened. Rest assured, we are not going to judge you for what you have to say. Let me reassure you of that.
Well, Walter and FC had been doing some research, and Walter said that the clues pointed to a barn outside the city, and FC said that the moons were right. It doesn't even seem to make sense. There's only one moon. And we figured out that they'd been using their drug money to fund their operation, to summon something, to be in contact with a dreadful thing, a thing with 1,000 mouths. They were going to bring it into this world, or some incarnation of it, in that barn outside of Los Angeles. As soon as we figured it out, the five of us, we rushed there. We got so many word. There's so many cultists, and we had guns and homemade fire bombs, and we were going to stop it. We were going to save the world. Well, a lot of people died that night. I don't remember much. There was fire. There was shooting. There were screams. At first, the barn went up in flames, and they ran out, and Vince, he just was mowing each of them down with his shotgun as they ran out. He was putting down a sick animal. I thought it was going to be okay, that we had stopped it, and then in the flames, the thing, they weren't running from the fire, they were running from it. It was tall, it was so tall. It was covered in mouths, but it didn't have a head. I ran. I shot some people. I ran like a coward. A damned coward that I...
There are some things that men are not supposed to see. And Reginald is trying to say this, like, quiet enough that essentially only the people at the table that are not the doctor in the other room, can hear.
He is going to be quiet. You're going to need to use some of your interpersonal skills to get him to say any more about what is going on.
I would like to spend a point of reassurance.
You know what? You don't even need to spend the point. You could say, I'm trying to reassure him.
Or, yeah,
and that's fine.
I'm going to try and reassure him.
How are you trying to reassure him? You're saying that, like, it's okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
The 1930s version of lol same.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't my fault. It was the cult. They were truly depraved. Little more than animals, fornicating in the name of their wicked god. They did drugs I'd never heard of and hurt each other for sports. These were monstrous people. I try not to think about it anymore. They tell me not to think about it anymore.
Well, if you don't want to be thinking about it anymore, your letters mention a book that you've written?
He looks at you, and he, like, looks over at the window that he knows the doctor is listening at. Yes, I do have a notebook. I hid it with a secret key to understand more of what was going on back then and what's still going on. You need to talk to Frank Hickering. He's back at my estate. And here, and he pulls out there's some paper and he writes a note. Take this note, give it to the groundskeeper. Carruthers will let you in. He should be able to let you look around. Send my love to my mother.
Of course.
I'm sure she'll be happy to hear from you.
If you find the book, read it, understand it. You have to know what happened. We went there to save the world that night, and we failed. Do you understand? We didn't stop it. It's there. It's out there. It's in our world. Slowly destroying it. We couldn't stop it. You have to stop it.
Some say they've always been in our world.
Yeah, this is the two of you are dealing with this other weirdo who just is saying the worst thing you could possibly say to this guy.
Yeah, there's very much a dude not helping look right now.
I just look over at JB and do the cuckoo.
I'm sorry. I don't. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's all in my head, like the doctor says. I hope it is.
We will get to the bottom of this, though.
Thank you. I don't want it to be real, but I fear it. And there is a knock at the door, and the doctor lets himself in. All right, I think Mr. Henslow has had enough for today. If that's all right with you, Dr. Faulk.
Yes, I think this would be a fine place to end this interview.
Thank you. That'll be. We'll see you back to where you need to be, Mr. Henslow, and one of the orderlies comes and helps him out. You notice that Henslow is actually having a little bit of trouble walking, and he's given a couple of pills in a paper cup that he swallows. He swallows them dry. He doesn't even get the water. Brutal.
Damn.
Right?
Brutal. Take care, Mr. Henslow.
Thank you. Be very careful. Be very careful. And you see him just looking around. Just looking at every corner as if he's trying to see something.
Hey Paul, would you say that you are haunted by nightmares of the things that have happened on the Crow's Codex?
I occasionally have some difficult dreams that come up. Most of those are associated with the most recent story.
Anything in particular with the most recent story that's really haunted you?
The time where there were more mouths than we expected, or more eyes than we expected, or more eyes in mouths than we expected. It's hard to narrow it down.
Was it the fish with human teeth?
It's definitely up there.
If any of these things sound horrible to you, you can find them and more on the Crow's Codex, now part of the Imaginary Broadcast Network. It's as real as you want it to be.
What a fascinating case, don't you think? Clearly, there was some sort of difficulty with some sort of drug gang or something, but due to the violence, he's created this fantasy of a monster. Perhaps because he inflicted violence himself, he does not wish to see.
I see the like in my line of work every once in a while.
Oh, and what is your line of work?
Oh, sorry, I never introduced myself, did I? Collin Kane, private eye.
Oh, an investigator. Well, I suppose he was involved in criminal activities, but this was some time ago.
It's all right. They have my permission to be here. I kind of just accidentally gaslit the student into thinking I was a doctor.
Well, that was a fascinating interview. I'm glad I was able to take some notes. He has not spoken about his friends for quite some time. The mention of his...
Yeah, maybe it'll do him some good.
He doesn't usually talk about Vincent and his shotgun. That's one of the things that we mentioned earlier. Now he doesn't mention it so much. As you mentioned it again, I'm not sure if that is a regression or progress. We'll have to see how it goes. Well, would you like to speak to Mr. Job as well, or would you like to speak to him on another day? We could set another arrangement for you all, or I know it's getting late in the evening. It's not that late. It's like 4:00.
If we can speak with Mr. Job today, it would probably be beneficial.
Definitely.
If it's not too much trouble.
No, yes, of course. And he says, you'll have to wait for just a moment. He's brought you over to his office, and it said, I need to organize this. But he has you sit down outside his office, and it says on the door, like, Dr. Keaton. And he says, I need to go talk to a couple of the nurses. We'll be with you shortly. And he steps away, and you can just wait for him to come back. If there's anything else you would like to do before that, you can also do that. I don't know if there's anything.
Are there a lot of people around?
Not a ton right here. You're in the office area. There's not a lot of office staff going around. Why do you ask?
At this point, Reginald's gonna kind of lower his voice a bit. Hey, if I can get into the office here to find some information, do you guys want to, run interference for me?
Well, what do you expect you might find in there?
The notes that Dr. Keaton probably wouldn't share with us otherwise.
Might be worth a look.
I have my ways of figuring this stuff out.
Certainly, and the less said about them, the better.
Reginald's gonna, kind of surreptitiously try the handle. Is the door locked?
I will casually be looking at a magazine or something, or my notebook, just blocking view as much as I can if someone were to enter the room.
So for investigative skills, if I don't have it, I can't use it, or I have to roll?
Yeah, if you don't have it, you can't use it.
Damn it.
Do you not know how to pick a lock? Do any of you have locksmith?
I do.
Hey, you want to get this open for me so I can do my thing?
This is a very strange way to run interference.
And at this point, Reginald's going to kind of stand between view and the private dick.
Yeah, easy lock to open. If you just have 1 point of locksmith, you don't even need to spend it. Just do it. Yeah, you can get the door open pretty easily. You know how to pick a lock at least.
Definitely. Did the whole time.
I was going to say, Reginald's the one ready to break in, and you're the one who actually can. I want you to give me a difficulty 4 stealth roll.
Okay, I am going to spend 1 point of stealth. That was bad.
That could have gone better.
The Dr. Keaton is making his way back, and he sees 2 people standing outside of his office. I'm just gonna make your stealth roll be more that he's coming back early, more than that's just how we'll do that sort of thing there. Oh, I'm sorry. Where did your friend get off to?
Interference.
Bathroom?
Oh, yes. Of course. Well, do we want to wait for him? He could join us when he's finished. The doctor seems a little awkward about this. He's wondering why you would go off to go to the bathroom in this place.
You gotta go when you gotta go.
I think Reginald knows this play because we've worked together before. It's like, always tell him it's a number 2.
Always.
Yeah.
I can spend preparedness for that if you'd like.
No, you don't need to spend preparedness to lie that he needs to shit. Okay, that's not what that's for.
Oh boy, that's definitely a sentence that was just said by a human being. Yeah, we can start without him, right?
We can, yes. He would need to wait out. He would not be able to be part of the conversation, though. To be fair, he did seem to be particularly triggering to Mr. Henslow.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Well, let me just get some of my notes from my office real quick, and we could be on our way. If you would like, you can try to make another stealth check to hide in the office. It will be a difficulty 5. Other people might be able to assist you to lower the difficulty if they do something that will help.
Well, I am going to spend 2 points this time.
Okay.
Does anybody have anything that they think might help?
You know what? I've got points in pharmacy, and I know a super boring topic that's actually really interesting that could keep a doctor busy for a while. I ask him before he goes what medication he's keeping everyone on.
Oh, and he is going to now be a little bit more distracted. He's still going to go into the room, but he's going to be distracted and talking to you. I'll lower the difficulty by 1. So it will be a difficulty 4 now.
Oakley dokley. And
You
roll.
got this.
Haha!
Yes!
I got 7.
You did okay. You are good to go. You have where do you think you hid in his office? Also, it seems like a kind of messy doctor's like a personal office. It's like his little side room. He's got books. He's got writings. He's got all of his notes and stuff. How do you hide?
I'd imagine under the desk.
That was one of the things that I was thinking is, like essentially dip under the desk.
It works.
So yeah, as soon as I hear them coming in, I'm be like, whoa.
And now we're going to split the party, I guess. Well, you will now have free reign to look through all the files in here. And he actually just grabs an empty notebook because he needs to just be taking notes on this. I guess not an empty notebook. He's got some stuff in it, but it seems like hopefully some of the other files are still going to be. But let's go over and see what's going on with Mr. Job. So yeah, let's see our little innovation with Mr. Job, Mr. Edgar Job. And then we'll get back to your office file stealing. The doctor does come in with you this time. And Edgar Job looks, in a word, pathetic. He's skinny. He's got stubble all over his, face and scalp. He looks almost like a prisoner of war, but wearing, the uniform of a sanitarium patient. And he smells overwhelmingly of cigarettes and mouthwash. And the doctor sort of gestures to have you guys go ahead. And Job is the first one to speak, and he says, you got a cigarette?
I'll hand him one. I'll even light it before I do.
Thank you. He's not allowed to have a lighter, so that's very handful.
That makes sense.
Thanks.
Mr. Job, my colleague and I have some questions for you.
About what?
It may interest you to know that we're here on the behalf of Mrs. Winston Rogers.
I don't.
Is that,
I don't know who the fuck that is.
Daughter of an old friend of yours?
Well, yes, the Winston would be the relevant part of that.
I repeat, I don't know any fucking Wilson. It's okay, Edgar. You can answer them truthfully. I fucking am answering them truthfully. I don't know a Winston.
Hey, I have assessed honesty. Is he answering truthfully?
He does not know any Winston, or at least that name does not ring a bell to him. Look, you come to gawk, okay? Look at me. Oh, the crazy guy. Okay? Are we done here, doctor?
How about Douglas Henslow? You and him do anything up in California there?
He has a much different reaction to that. He looks at you and says, the doc tell you about this?
Somewhat. We're looking to wrap up some loose ends for a client.
I'm not supposed to talk about that, okay? Doctor says, and he gestures to the doctor, I'm not supposed to talk about fucking Henslow and his friends. Oh, is that the Winston? Ah! All right. That must be one of those poor bastards who got killed that night, right?
Not that night. Some years later, in fact.
I don't
Why
want
don't
to
you
talk
tell us
about
everything?
Bavaria.
About who?
Cavaria. They were the person that was in charge of those parties. That gang. Doc says I'm not supposed to do it. He says, looking over at the doc. You don't have to answer anything you don't want to answer.
Certainly. And we wouldn't want to upset the patient, would we, Doctor?
Which doctor were you talking to? The real doctor or your fake doctor?
The real doctor.
Okay. Yes. If you feel comfortable answering, you can, Mr. Job. You need to tell me what keys you would like to use in terms of your interpersonal skills.
What, keys? What?
What I mean is, what are you using? What are you going to use to unlock this guy? I'm using a metaphor. What interpersonal skills are you using here?
Obviously you have quite the story to tell, so you don't have to go into detail, but I'd love to hear it. Don't think of it like a bad memory. Think of it like something that happened to somebody else. And tell me what happened.
We didn't have a name. People can't say cult all the time. I thought cults had names. We didn't have a name. We We were just people who hung out with the Cavalria, you know? Just, you know, I guess a cult's a way you could describe it. That we were just people, you know? I met him when I was studying at UCLA. George introduced us, I think. George Avery? I can't remember. It's all, whatever. Cavalria, good guy. Well, creepy guy, but hell of a guy. Huge library, bunch of creepy books. He told us what we should do. The sex we should have, the things we should draw, the things we should say out of all those spooky books. I thought it was just a bunch of nonsense. It was just parties, you know?
SECTS or SEX?
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you not know about mommies and daddies?
I'm just curious.
No, those parties were wild, my friend. Sex,
nice.
drugs. I was basically high from 1923 to August of 1924, okay? My memory's not so good because of that, but, you know, I remember a lot of sex, and I remember a lot of drugs. That was some potent shit. Cavalria, I don't know where he got it, but it was good shit. And then it was more. It's more than just parties. He said that we'd have power. He promised all of us that there was going to be power. That Gal Garoth was here, or when he was here, we would give the world to him, and then he would give the world to us. The fisher from outside would be drawn in. I don't, it's hard to, it didn't make any fucking sense.
And I suppose all the sex and drugs kept you from seeing the very obvious red flags.
I mean, I thought he was just making it up, you know? I thought he was just some crazy Mexican thing. Some crazy hokum. Some crazy nonsense. He could say whatever he wanted as long as the parties kept happening. I don't know, after a while, it started to make sense, you know? I mean, I don't know.
Well, every party ends eventually.
No fucking kidding. That
Can
night,
you tell
man,
us what happened that night?
Yeah. This one guy, I mostly remember this one guy. He had a shotgun. And Cavalria was yelling at him, chanting something, and then Cavalria didn't have a face anymore, just blown away by this guy. Grabbed Cavalria's knife, big old fucking knife, twisty, terrifying looking. Made it so he didn't shoot me, you know? Had to get away. I had to keep him from killing me too.
Did you kill him?
I see his face every night, you know? I guess I knew it was wrong, but I didn't want to die. What's that you said, Dr. Keaton? I can't undo it, so I should... And then Dr. Keaton finishes the sentence with him. Cannot control the past.
It's very true.
Yeah. He was casting spells that night. Or on all of us. Or, well, cast a spell on me. He said that I was a big deal. That I was, I don't know what I was supposed to do, but I was supposed to be the one standing before the fisher. And that he would come into the world. I don't know. I don't know. Said I was important. Came in, though. It wasn't what he promised.
It never is.
And, you know, I ran, woke up in handcuffs. Cops came in, accused me and a couple of the other people of crimes, threw me in jail. Then eventually I ended up over here. Don't know quite how that happened, actually, Doc. You're under good care now. The state of California was not going to be able to take care of you the way that I can. So you say.
God, this guy makes my skin crawl.
He says this quietly, just as he's sort of thinking, that thing's still out there.
Well, Mr. Job, I think that's all our questions for the moment. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Well, fascinating. I'm glad that we were able to relive some of those experiences. But remember, Mr. Job, there was no creature, okay? No mouths, okay?
Wink.
The doctor looks at you and says, that's not helping. Well, we will make sure you're still taking your pills, and we'll speak later. And the doctor shows you out. Meanwhile, while this was all going on, free to look through the files is Reginald.
Reginald is going to, like, he's not necessarily subtle about these things. First, he is going to look for Douglas's file and then pull out, like, the oldest of the documents, because he thinks those are probably going to have the most useful information, even though they're going to be kind of about ravings of a perceived madman. And actually, he's probably going to do the same thing for Edgar as well. Is basically grab the earliest documents out of both of their files and just kind of squirrel them away.
As you sort of glancing at the files, like, you're not a doctor or anything, but
no.
Looking at it, it mentions that Henslow and Job went through something called confrontation therapy, where they were put in a room together and allowed to interact. When they're on their medications, it says a desire by both patients to end the encounter. And when they interacted off of their meds, they eyed each other angrily, and EJ rushed DH once, screaming, "You tried to kill me, but I'm still here," over and over, until orderlies got them apart.
That's fair. Now, the names that Edgar had mentioned that Reginald didn't hear, on, like, kind of flipping through what of the his documents that he'd seen, did Reginald read any of those, like, names or references?
You mean, like, the other people part of the crew?
Specifically, Cavalria, Fisher from Beyond, and the name that you had mentioned that I didn't end up writing down.
Golgoth.
Vincent, too.
Well, Vincent was already in my notes, because we'd already heard about him from...
The only thing you really find, there's some references to it, but it just says richly intertwined delusion and psychosis. And there's a margin note that says, "Could be my glimpse of madness, ? Or maybe just a chapter," which you don't recognize, but that is a sensationalist story of a sanitarium in California that sold very, very well.
Interesting.
If you steal these files out.
Oh, yeah. Reginald's, like, pocketing these files.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
After gathering this, is gonna surreptitiously sneak his way or leave the office.
Yeah. There's also a letter. It says that Dr. Keaton wrote a letter to the state of California in 1931 petitioning to keep Edgar Job in treatment in Savannah at Joy Grove's expense, rather than to transport him to a prison in California. And there's a perfunctory reply letter that's essentially California saying, "Sure, whatever, if you're going to pay for it."
Yep, that's government.
Sense.
Yeah.
That tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he'll probably take that too.
Yeah.
Because
just grab general files and make it out of there. And yeah. And what do you want to do? You try to, like, find the rest of the crew, or are you just going to sort of wait here until they come back? What are you thinking?
I think, so, first, the door. Is it one of those ones that has, like, the little turning lock from the inside, like most inside doors have?
Yeah.
Okay. So as Reginald's leaving, he's going to relock the door and close it behind him.
Of course.
And, yeah, he's going to sit here, like, by the office, because, you know, this is where we were originally meeting, and he left to go drop a deuce, so
Jesus,
this is where he'd come back to. And like, when everybody comes back, he's sitting there sipping on his flask again.
Well, while you're waiting, you notice something. You know, you're just sort of looking around, making sure that everything's okay, and you're looking at the water damaged walls and just sort of looking around, and you catch sight of something. There is a yellow-toothed mouth growing out of the wall, and it's mouthing words silent.
The yellow-toothed mouth.
What do you do?
This mouth is, like, across from me, like, right next to me?
It's a little bit forward and to the right. It's next to one of the doors leading deeper into the asylum.
There's no skill for reading lips, is there?
I don't know if there's a specific skill for reading lips. Is there a skill that you have that you think would let you read lips? No, you cannot figure out if it's trying to say anything. Oh, we're gonna need to have you make a check.
Yes, very much so.
Difficulty 4, possible loss of 4.
Oh, and I can spend one for this.
Yes.
So I will spend one. So that's going to take me to 9 before the roll. Okay. Roll high.
Oh no. That is. Oh no.
I need you
that's
to lose
bad.
4 stability.
Yep.
It'd be worse.
So that takes me to 5.
And something about it, like you get up and you are drawn to this mouth. But as you approach it, it's like it grows back into the wall and disappears.
What? There's something going on here. And at this, he's going to take a longer swig off of his flask, which is, I'm going to say, probably like drains it at this point because he's been kind of sipping on it all day.
Yeah.
And do that whole thing where he shakes it and then kind of shakes it upside down and like a single drop falls down.
Do you
bad
have
time to run out?
Yeah. Do you have a cult skill?
I have a cult too.
You have a cult too. All right. You notice that as you're sort of looking at the wall very closely now, trying to figure out what the hell this is.
Yeah.
You see that there are symbols drawn like on the wall. And as you're looking around, you see that there are symbols like drawn on a lot of the walls around here. They're very small. These small little symbols are drawn all over everything. And you recognize them. There's an occult significance to them. These are warding. They are symbols meant to thwart spells that spy magically from a distance. None of them are like an actual spell. They're not drawn well enough. It's almost more just like random occult graffiti that seems to be trying to keep out magical eyes looking at them.
Okay. Now, do these look like they're like, are they done in like ink, or does it look like, dried blood that they're written in?
They're etched into it.
Oh, they're carved in.
Yes.
Okay.
Or, yeah. And so, there is some that are painted on the wall as well. You see that it's all sorts of different ways of doing it. Painted with like a bluish paint that, unfortunately, in most places is melting off the wall when the walls got wet. All right. And then the doctor and your 2 friends get back with you staring at a wall.
Did you wash your hands?
Well, of course. That was, I apologize, Doc. And Doc, that was, I shouldn't have had that burrito earlier today. It did a number on me.
No harm, no foul, my friend. Well, harm to you, but that's not my problem.
Harm to the toilet as well, if I'm going to be honest.
And I have to imagine it was pretty foul.
You know what? Fair enough. I walked right into that one.
Well, I'm going to let the 3 of you discuss that. Please do be in touch. Is there anywhere that I could reach you? I could try to gather more information about these gentlemen. And I might want to talk with you to get a quote for some works that I'm working on.
Yeah, here's the number for my office.
Oh. Great. I will. This is not in Savannah. Do you have a messaging service?
I got a secretary. She'll take your call.
And here, let me give you my card. He gives you his calling card. Well, it's been a pleasure working with you all. If you do find out anything at the Henslow estate, I would love to hear it. His mother has not wanted me to visit there. Well, must be on my way. You have a lovely day.
And you as well, Doctor.
Yes. And we'll have Nurse Joy see you out.
Nurse Joy.
Well, we had a Nurse Joy back at our hospital, too.
Yeah, it's a very common name for nurses. They all look very similar,
Yeah.
too.
I think they're sisters.
They're all sisters and all nurses, huh? That's wild. And you are led out by the disaffected Nurse Joy. And she actually says real quick to, as you're going out, to JB, they said you were a doctor?
That is what they said.
All right. Do you, can you write prescriptions?
Oh, probably not in Georgia.
Thanks for listening, all you horrible abominations. Our cast this week featured series regular Russell, who also edited the episode, and who wants to wish a happy birthday to their lovely wife, Renee. Damien, who streams on Twitch at Magical Hack, and Nathan from Kingdom Hearts and Forgotten Eras podcast. Just a friendly reminder that we'd love for you to join the Daniel's Dread Tales Discord and, tell us how you think about the show. Another way you could tell us about the show that actually would really help us out is to review us on your podcast platform of choice and, give us 5 stars. It helps the algorithm gods support us. Anyway, we will see you all in 2 weeks on December 1st for the conclusion of this adventure, at least for now. Have a Lovecraftic day.